This is a super quick video, and I don't claim to be an excellent source of authority or knowledge on everything about the issue of Kony2012 at all, but I think that it's really important while the hype and the discussion is still going about Joseph Kony to get some questions out there, to be really thinking about what's going on. If you've been anywhere on the internet in the last couple of days, you've probably heard of the Kony2012 campaign that's being run by Invisible Children, and if you haven't, you should most definitely click here and go and watch the documentary because it's incredibly moving and brilliant and well made and stuff. I just want to raise a few questions that are going around in my head and some other people's on the internet, and link you to some blog posts to get people thinking about what's going on before mindlessly giving money to the group and moving on and think that they've done something to change the world. Firstly, I don't knock the fact that they're raising brilliant awareness for the issue. 3 days ago I had no idea that this was going on, now I do, and now I care about it, and that is an achievement if I then act on caring about it. But they've, millions of people have watched the documentary. We've got to be doing something right. But I have a few issues. The main way in which, the documentary is quite simplistic in its view of the issue, obviously, because it's only half an hour long and it's aimed at people watching it on Facebook and YouTube, so it can't, it's not going to be a big long academic paper considering all the different issues involved. But it depicts Joseph Kony as the bad guy, and what we're going to do to get rid of the bad guy. Well, their plan is to arrest him, and the way they're going to arrest him is with military intervention. And so a lot of the money that is given to Invisible Children gets spent on supporting the Ugandan army, even though he's not so active in Uganda anymore, but it gets spent on supporting the Ugandan army in arresting him, also supporting the American troops that recently got sent over by Obama to try and arrest him. And I don't know, or personally, I'm not a huge advocate of violence as a way of solving issues, so I think people should be aware if they're giving money to Invisible Children, like I did straight after watching the documentary, because it's very emotional, it tugs at your heartstrings and it makes you want to do things. If you're giving your money to them, quite a lot of it goes to the army. The other thing about where your money is going, if you're donating money, is only 32% of the money is actually spent on direct action, so on solving the problem. The rest of the money goes on transport costs for the filmmakers and salaries for staff, and a large amount of the costs goes on making the film, which you could say fair enough is raising awareness, but hopefully they'll change that now they've got more awareness, so that won't be a long-term thing, because that is an issue. The other thing is with the way they depict the issue is they almost forget to mention that people of Africa can help themselves. There's a common issue in the media where people present Africans as poor people who have nothing, which isn't true. They have really rich lives, a lot of knowledge, obviously more knowledge of their local area than anybody in America would have, and people are coming up with initiatives for themselves, and we should do a lot of work into looking to supporting these initiatives, which to some extent Invisible Children, to be fair to them, have looked at supporting local initiatives, but a lot of what they're doing is a top-down approach, so that's governments or big companies intervening with money, schemes funded by a lot of money to try and make a difference, rather than grassroots schemes or bottom-up schemes, which tend to be more effective, which is working with local knowledge to make long-term improvements. So how are you reintegrating the children that used to be child soldiers back into society? How can you decrease the problems that are causing the violence in the first place? I don't have a huge lot of knowledge on the subject area, so I can't tell you exactly what should be done. I just can tell you that we should be questioning how people are going about things, because it does the typical thing of producing Africa as a burden on the rich countries. We should be saving them, instead of looking at the fact that actually we're still causing a lot of their issues through trade barriers and through what we did with colonisation and the effects of that. Instead, we should be looking at what we can do to decrease poverty in Africa, and also working with Africa's leaders, working with the prime ministers or presidents or whatever of these countries, because they do have power. Africa isn't as corrupt as people make out. They're not helpless. They do need funding. They're not rich. They need funding, but they have knowledge. So we need to be funding their ideas. Other things that I have to say. Oh yeah, something that a number of bloggers have pointed out is that the name Invisible Children almost points out the problem that I have with the Invisible Children's understanding of the issue. The children weren't invisible. They were only invisible to the rich nations of the world, to America, to Britain. They were very much visible to the communities and the families that they're taken from, and they have initiatives to stop or to try and help with what's going on. And to a certain extent, Invisible Children are helping. Some of their money goes towards supporting these initiatives, but arguably more of it needs to go towards maybe more intelligent advocacy, people who are experts. Invisible Children are experts in new media. They've done a brilliant job of getting awareness out, that's great, but they're not necessarily, the founders aren't necessarily experts in solving issues of extreme violence. So perhaps they need to be dedicating more of their resources, or more focusing the attention more away to groups that can deal with those kind of issues. I realise this is a terribly made video and I'm just gambling nonsense at you. What I'm trying to do is get out the opinion that we need to get a conversation going about how best we can solve this issue. Don't just take things at face value. Like tweeting celebrities, they recommend that we tweet celebrities like Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga to get their voices, but they're not the people that know how best to deal with these issues. We maybe need to rethink. I don't have the answers. I just want people to think about getting a conversation going on what we can do. And in general, this brings up a lot of the issues with the way the Western world tries to solve issues in Africa by really simplifying things and thinking that we have to do everything ourselves and chucking money at people works. There's a lot of debate going around about whether aid really works at all. I strongly encourage you to go and research it, look things up for yourselves, make your own decisions, and then donate your money to where you think would be the best place to spend your money. In the meantime, yeah, just keep discussing things. This is a terrible video, I'm so sorry. I just want to make people think. It's terrible because I don't have time to edit it or actually create formulated ideas because I have lots of world development coursework. But I love you all. Mwah.